Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Blake? What? Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Welcome back, everybody, for more SPTV, where every day's a great day not to be in a cult, or since this is SPTV Late Night Edition, every night's a great night not to be in a cult. All right, let's get down to business, guys. The city of Clearwater is ramping up. Well, I should say the human trafficking cult of Scientology is ramping up its war with the city of Clearwater. And it looks like this is going to be heading to court very, very soon. And Mayor Bruce Rector, in a city council work session recently, basically said, yeah, that's what should happen. There's many steps to this. There's sort of many steps, many chapters to this story, and I want to lay them out in a way that makes the most sense. Back in December of last year, Scientology approached the city and said, hey, you know that big giant event hall we've been planning on building for 20 years? They said, yeah. They said, you know how we've already had, plans in place for this thing for a long, long time. We've already raised a ton of money and we've already got all the plans for this thing. And they're like, yeah. Scientology's tiny little leader, David Miscavige, was like, you know what we just decided? We decided we want to buy the street. And the city council was like, okay, we'll allow the city manager to have conversations with David Miscavige about what they want and what they would be willing to give the city in return. Months and months and months of conversations happened, and a deal was hammered out. And the city council actually, they have to vote twice in order to pass something like this. The city council actually voted yes once, and then all hell broke loose. The citizens of Clearwater basically rose up and said, "Not today, Satan!" And the city council essentially changed their minds 3-2 to vote no the second time. And Miscavige, it was very clearly being telegraphed that the vote was going to go against him the second time. So he withdrew the application. Then Scientology went running to the Florida Attorney General and said, my pearls, they're violating our rights. Okay. So some Scientologists got the Florida Attorney General to write a letter to Clearwater Mayor Bruce Rector, warning him that if the city council was voting no because of religious discrimination against Scientology, that would be a violation of the law. The Attorney General also said, now look, you can vote yes or no to vacate the city's right-of-way on this street. But as of right now, our interpretation of Florida law indicates you do not have the right to then sell the street to Scientology. If you vacate your right-of-way, ownership automatically defaults back to the adjacent property owners, and the adjacent property owners in this case are all the Church of Scientology. Okay. So the Attorney General, the Florida Attorney General, wrote a letter to Bruce Rector. Now, the Florida Attorney General has absolutely no jurisdiction whatsoever in municipal street vacations at all. It was really just a warning. Hey, look, just make sure there's no religious discrimination here. This is step one of the story, and I just want to very quickly show you some of the language from this letter to the city of Clearwater Mayor Bruce Rector. My office recently became aware of circumstances surrounding a local property owner's petition to vacate a plat within your city's limits. The plat in question is a street that is adjacent to other parcels already owned by the petitioning property owner, a religious institution. I'm going to skip right to the very end where it simply says, I understand that the city may make its approval of the vacation of the plat at issue contingent upon the petitioner's disposition of other nearby parcels it owns. For the reasons stated above, I would remind you that current law does not authorize such conditions. More importantly, my role as the state's chief legal officer compels me to caution you in this instance because it appears discriminatory motives could taint the council's decision making. If discrimination forms a basis for any decision to reject or place restrictions on approval, such a decision would run afoul of the law. Sincerely, James Uthmeyer, Attorney General of Florida. Okay. Now, for those of you not already familiar with what had been happening in this case, 2 of the 5 city council members are very clearly working for Scientology. That is Michael Mannino and Ryan Cotton. And it is also incredible to see that the 2 city council members that are clearly in Scientology's pocket saw this letter and was like, they were like this. girls. Oh my God. What is going to happen if the Florida Attorney General writes an opinion about this? We have to do something immediately. Okay. The other 3 city council members, including the mayor, who is a lawyer, and the Clearwater, Florida city attorney, who is a lawyer, all said, okay, the letter means nothing. In fact, Mayor Rector even said he called the Florida Attorney General's chief of staff and had 3 phone conversations with him or her. I don't know if it's him or her, but I'm just going to say him, just to make sure there was no misunderstanding. Everything was, and Mayor Rector said that the Attorney General's chief of staff reiterated to me on all 3 phone calls that they have absolutely no jurisdiction whatsoever on a municipal street vacation, and that the letter was addressed to me personally, and I have spoken with the Attorney General's office. So in other words, the mayor, who's a lawyer, the city attorney, who's a lawyer, are all saying, yeah, this is no big deal. But the other 2 people are like, this is a huge deal, and we have to do something about it now. Okay. So then what happened is Scientology's attorney, one of their attorneys, Potter, sent a letter to the city basically saying, we understand you got a letter from the Attorney General. And whereas we were going to buy that street from you, now you're just going to give it to us. Because the Attorney General told us you didn't have the authority to sell the street to us, and you don't have the authority to ask us for anything else in return either. So there you go. Okay. And it was Scientology's letter to the city that got the 2 city council members that are in Scientology's pocket all up in a tizzy again, and led to the really fun and entertaining conversation at a recent city council work session that I'm going to play for you. But I would like to show you the letter from Scientology's attorney to the Clearwater city attorney. Let's look at this. From Bob Potter. Okay, get this up here. Okay, good. David, Mr. Margolis. Mr. Margolis is Clearwater City Attorney. I represent the Church of Scientology, a notorious human trafficking cult. My client is preparing to resubmit its application to vacate a portion of South Garden Avenue. The portion of South Garden Avenue under discussion was dedicated by Platt in 1922. Under long-standing Florida law, when a municipality vacates a road dedicated via a common law dedication, title to the land vests in the adjacent property owners. The Church of Scientology, like I said, notorious human trafficking cult. Oh, I just realized you guys are seeing a different portion of the letter than I'm seeing. Hold on. Okay. The Church of Scientology, human trafficking cult, is the adjacent property owner. In November 2024, discussions occurred between Scientology, the notorious human trafficking cult, and the city of Clearwater regarding vacating South Garden Avenue. Part of those discussions included Scientology's desire to break ground in March 2025. Yes, and by the way, David Miscavige has already announced to all the Scientologists in the world that they are breaking ground on L. Ron Hubbard Hall in downtown Clearwater, Florida, summer 2025. The clock is ticking. Something tells me this is not going to go the way David Miscavige wants it to. At that time, city council members indicated their concurrence with vacating South Garden Avenue. By the way, that is a false statement. The city council members voted to authorize the city manager to engage in discussions with David Miscavige about what a deal would look like. There was absolutely no vote, nothing of any kind where they all said, yes, we're okay with selling the street. We just have to hammer out terms. This is something they can consistently lie about. Okay. However, following those discussions, you, the city manager, asserted that the city owns the South Garden Avenue roadbed because it has maintained the road for over 4 years. This opinion was based on blah, 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 blah. Okay. Scientology objected to those assertions, blah, 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 blah. Never in the city's history has the city demanded payment for vacating a road such as South Garden Avenue. Never in the history of Scientology in the history of the city of Clearwater, has anybody asked the city of Clearwater to vacate a road that's in the core of the downtown district and an artery to the downtown. Street vacations are usually for things, vacating the right of way of streets are usually for things that aren't even contentious or aren't even controversial. controversial. Okay, Scientology objected to blah, blah, blah. Okay, your opinion also opened the door to additional demands as conditions to vacating this small portion of South Garden Avenue. So this is very interesting. Until this letter, I did not realize that the reason negotiations got so detailed and there was so much horse trading being discussed is because it was the city manager who was saying, no, we do own the street. You're wrong. And I'm sorry, the city manager. It is the city attorney who has been saying consistently all along, no, we own the road. You are mistaken. Anyway, I just thought that was pretty cool. Okay, so the city attorney is the one to blame for the reason why Scientology had to agree to all of these things, blah, 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 blah. They had to agree to activate properties on Cleveland Street. They had to agree to restrictions on the design of L. Ron Hubbard Hall beyond what was required by law. They had to agree to landscaping beyond what is required by law. Given the time sensitivity surrounding Scientology's planned groundbreaking, Scientology agreed to pay an appraised value for the roadbed. By the way, guys, that was like $1.2, $1.3 million or something like this. Okay, then there's the thing about the Community Redevelopment Agency, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, Scientology understood that a majority of the council concurred with vacating the right-of-way, and it appeared the road vacation would move forward. A groundbreaking was announced to Scientology's international congregation, and Scientology made associated commitments and preparations. The ordinance vacating the portion of South Garden Avenue passed on first reading. However, the second reading was delayed. When it became clear the council was going to vote against the vacation at the second reading, Scientology withdrew its application on May 14th, 2025. That withdrawal and my subsequent emails with you specifically noted that issues surrounding title to the property should be reviewed in depth. Attorney General Uthmeier wrote to Mayor Rector on May 29th and said, a city is not authorized to place conditions on adjacent property owners when determining to vacate a street. The Attorney General further stated, such conditions violate the law. We agree with the Attorney General. The city of Clearwater is subjecting Scientology to an unlawful process that has never been imposed on an applicant in a similar situation in the history of Clearwater. In fact, research shows that the city council has never denied a request to vacate a right-of-way. That's because nobody would ever be so stupid as to ask the city to vacate a right-of-way on a street in its a downtown core. Okay, blah, 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 something about adverse possession, blah, blah, blah. As the city does not own the South Garden Avenue roadbed, the city cannot sell the land to Scientology. It simply vacates the right-of-way and ownership of the roadbed reverts to the adjacent property owners. We urge you to re-examine your analysis. Okay, this letter to the city asserting Scientology's own interpretations of all the relevant statutes and everything is what led to a rather heated discussion at a recent city council work session. And I've gone through and I've got very good timestamps and I'm going to show you very precise portions of this. I want you to see what a fool city council member Michael Mannino makes out of himself, making a whole big deal over something that two lawyers are telling him is not a big deal. And Mannino is always like, when Mayor Rector keeps bringing up Scientology, and Michael Mannino keeps going this, my pearls, why do you keep mentioning Scientology? This is not about Scientology. This is about proper procedures, sir. And I reject the implication. What is it? I resent the implication that I have anything to do with Scientology. Michael Mannino is very clearly working for David Miscavige on this issue, as is Ryan Cotton. But Michael Mannino made much more of an ass out of himself in this meeting than Ryan did. Okay, I have this queued up right to where I want it to begin. And yeah, let's just watch it. Let's see what we got going on here. No, I want to share this one. And here we go.
We have to know what our city attorney and our city attorney's office gives us on the direction of how we interpret the vacation of right-of-ways in the Attorney General's letter if it changes it.
By the way, I'm going to try not to interrupt this every 5 seconds. He's sitting and being like, we need to know what our city attorney thinks. The city attorney has been telling all of the council members every single time they meet, whether it's every week or every other week, for the last 8 months, what the city attorney thinks. It's this hand-wringing like, oh my God, yes, he said it to us, but we need him to say it to everyone. And he's acting like it's this big, important deal.
Well, that letter's now been submitted. On the other side, completely in disagreement in what our stance is as a city, and it's already sitting on the Attorney General's desk in their hands to give an opinion. So
Oh no, Scientology wrote a letter and copied the Attorney General, and Scientology's lawyer's letter disagrees with ours. What are we gonna do? Oh, what are we gonna do? I mean, it's totally irrelevant. This is manufactured outrage. It's Scientology telling Michael Mannino he needs to be outraged.
why this is back before us again is to say, now time is not on our side. It is actually against us. Now, it is not too early to ask this. So again, I'm going to ask if the city attorney can, and we can give him 2 weeks or whatever he feels is the right time frame for him to effectively write this. But if he can write a letter to us, a letter, a memorandum of opinion on our vacation of right-of-way and our process, and if it's changed or how it's been affected according to the Attorney General of Florida. So if you don't mind, City Attorney, and I don't want to put you in a spot, but if you don't mind commenting on this request of what I'm making again.
And you would think that the city attorney's answer is the next applicable clip that I have for you, but it really isn't, because all they do is talk about a bunch of timing stuff. We're going to jump forward to 3, 5, 3, 4, 7, where the other guy that's working for Miscavige, Ryan Cotton, makes slightly less of an ass of himself. But continues to act like, oh my God, what are we going to do about the fact that Scientology disagrees with us? Don't you think the city attorney of Clearwater is the one who should be worried about whether he's right or wrong? Not the guy who 2 months ago was just working as a fireman and doesn't know anything about any of this stuff, but got elected to the city council with Scientology's help. Okay, let's see what Cotton has to say.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, bring up obviously a important and heated topic. After reviewing the letter that was just emailed to the city on July 3rd, I find myself at the wonderful word that we all in city government like is impasse, right? I believe there's really one question that needs to be answered. You're well aware of that question. We've been over it. And that's, does section 95.361 of Florida statutes, section 163.380 of Florida statutes, or section 2.01, subsection D, subsection 5 of the Clearwater City Charter establish that the city of Clearwater still owns the land under South Garden Avenue if the city decides to vacate the public right-of-way on that road?
So here you have Ryan Cotton, a city council member, being like, we still have to know what the right answer to this question is. Now, as a Clearwater citizen, I go, well, city council member Ryan Cotton, who is it that you're supposed to go to get clarification on these things? And the answer is Clearwater's city attorney. It is so crazy to see Ryan Cotton wringing his hands, going, what are we going to do about the fact that Scientology's attorney doesn't agree with the city attorney? This is a crisis. It's only a crisis if your concern is Scientology isn't getting what they want. And so you're challenging whether Clearwater's city attorney is correct. You shouldn't be the one challenging whether the Clearwater city attorney is correct. That's Scientology's job. And that's why it's so crazy to see Michael Mannino and Ryan Cotton consistently up there doing Scientology's job for them. Because what you're about to hear is Ryan Cotton go, wow, I mean, Mr. David Margolis, city attorney, you make such compelling arguments and it sounds so good and so correct. But I've spoken to other attorneys who feel differently. Why? Why are you speaking to other attorneys? Why do you care what other attorneys have to say? It's absolutely crazy. I'm going to put this on 1.25 speed, you guys, because he just talks really slowly for me. So here we go.
It seems like if this question is answered, then all the subsequent questions that you have had also get answered. And again, I say it in impasse because we've had how many conversations that you've pointed out, and I'm sure you've had these same conversations with my colleagues here. Okay. And quite honestly, your interpretation and the perceptions of others that I've also heard from are logical and well-reasoned. So as you've pointed out, not being an attorney, I wish that I had the legal mind and understanding of how to articulate these things and reasonings. But
Why? It's not your job. You're not the city attorney. It's not your job. You don't have to have the legal mind to articulate these things. It's the city attorney's job.
I don't. And that's why I lean on you, and I hear and trust everything you're telling me. And then I hear great arguments to the other side. And this is where I think you doing
Who's making an argument on the other side other than the Church of Scientology?
this memo is going to be important because of that one important question.
By the way, all of this comes down to Michael Mannino and Ryan Cotton basically saying, David Margolis, can you please officially put into writing the thing that you've been telling us in our one-on-one meetings for the last 6 months? That's all this is all about. And the city attorney has already said, sure, I'll do that. And the two people who are working for Scientology, Michael Mannino and Ryan Cotton, are like, oh my God, we have to have it done in 2 weeks. And the mayor and the city council is going on they're going on a trip to Japan. There's some city in Japan that's like a sister city to Clearwater, and they do trips back and forth. And the council members who aren't working for Scientology are like, yeah, write this up whenever you have time, and maybe just wait until we're back from Japan, so the press isn't calling us while we're in Japan. And Michael Mannino and Ryan Cotton are like, oh my God, we have to have this done before we go to Japan. And we need it done as soon as possible, because what if the attorney general writes an opinion and he doesn't have a chance to get a letter from David Margolis first? Like that's the essence of this entire meeting, you guys. So let's, we're going to play this a little bit more.
And I hope that proceeds and gives us clarity going forward. And who knows where we find ourselves after that, but at least we'll know where the city stands and how it's interpreted.
Okay, here's where the mayor basically says, this is what courts are for, and judges. And if Scientology has a problem with with the city of Clearwater's opinion, as stated by the city attorney, they can go to court.
Well, yeah, this is why we have courts, and this is why we have judges. When there are lawyers,
says the attorney. That's Mayor Bruce Rector, and he is a lawyer.
That disagree, and clients that disagree, parties that disagree, they go to a court, to a judge, a trier of fact to settle the difference. And that's what needs to be done here. If the property owner here doesn't agree with our position on it, then their recourse is not to go to the Attorney General, who has no jurisdiction over a street vacation. The Chief of Staff shared that with me. They don't have any jurisdiction over that issue. Their recourse is to go to a court and to ask for the court to settle, does the city own the street if it's vacated or not? And they're welcome to do that. But that's where we're at. I think, the city attorney has repeatedly given us his opinion that, and his staff, that they think, well, that we have a property right in the street. So the property owner here disagrees with that. And so, the court doors are open every day, and we can eventually go there. I don't know if it hurts us to have our attorney or city attorney's opinion be public record. It would be filed in a brief that would be public record anyway, in some type of court dispute or resolution of it. So I don't know if that hurts us, but that's where it will eventually get resolved if we, as a city, and the property owner don't agree.
Okay, now it is so amazing to see the contrast between the two people up there who are attorneys essentially being bored with this entire issue, trying to communicate how it is a non-issue. There is no urgency. There is no pending application. There is no pending legal matter. There is no pending case. There's no pending anything. They're literally bored. Mayor Rector is literally chuckling, which you're going to see Michael Mannino take a lot of issue with here soon. Rector is chuckling. The city attorney is chuckling. And you have Ryan Cotton and Michael Mannino being like, this is deadly serious. and time sensitive. And if only I knew what I was talking about. We need guidance. It's like, yeah, that's what the city attorney is there for. Guidance. Okay, now there is, do I really want to show this next clip from Mannino? No, I think I want to skip that. I think I'm going to skip that. I'm going to jump forward to where Mannino specifically asks the city attorney, what happens if we don't submit our own letter to the Florida Attorney General before the Attorney General issues an opinion? Now, you might think a legal opinion, oh my God, this is important. And Rector is actually going to interrupt. Margolis isn't going to get a chance to answer the question because Rector's going to interrupt as an attorney and be like, what? Anyway, let's just play it because this is hilarious to me. 40105. It's like issue an opinion. I can give you an opinion. It would have as much value. Okay, here we go.
If we sit on this and wait and it doesn't get submitted, or we say don't do it, go to the courts, I don't know what it looks like. And city attorney, you could probably give me a better answer. What does it look like if we do not submit a letter, if we don't submit our narration of what we believe to be fact in our interpretation of our process, and we allow the attorney's opinion that has been submitted to them, and we allow a determination to be made by the attorney general? Are we in some sort of a risk in doing that?
Well,
I'm asking him, Mayor. I'm not asking you.
I know, but
You're the attorney.
but
and
back
you're
to what we said
far
earlier, the
smarter.
Attorney General is not the trier of fact. He has no
You-
jurisdiction here. So I don't know what letter the property owner is pitching to folks that is some Supreme Court ruling that's going to stay us from doing whatever. He does not have that jurisdiction. And we don't have any case in the city attorney way that's before him, like a judge would have to make a ruling. So I don't know why we're trying to anticipate, something that is not going to be dispositive. And the city attorney can tell me that we're not under any, like you would be in a court case, we're not under any time deadline, but
I love how Rector's having to explain this to Mannino like he's a small child.
court order to respond within a certain amount of time. So you can elaborate on that, but
I think it depends on, on where we are getting that expectation from.
That's right. That's right. Now, see, the city attorney and Mayor Bruce Rector keep mentioning Scientology or the applicant because the big elephant in the room is that the only person who cares about the deadline or the attorney general's opinion, because there is no deadline, the only person who cares about how fast things move is Scientology. Okay. Scientology is the only one who cares. David Miscavige is the only one who cares. Except for some reason, Michael Mannino and Ryan Cotton also care. Okay, let's see. Margolis goes on here for a little bit, and then Mannino just takes issue. He just takes issue that people aren't taking this seriously. This is serious, you guys. Don't listen to the attorneys, the mayor, the city attorney. Mannino says this is serious. Why? Because his daddy, David Miscavige, said it's serious.
There's definitely a big difference between what we deal with in the court of law, versus sometimes either what we deal with in the court of public opinion or what we deal with stakeholder relations and things of that nature. Legally, I don't perceive any particular urgency to this at all. There is nothing pending before the city.
Nothing urgent at all.
There's no application that's pending. There's no lawsuit that's pending. There's no explicit threat. So legally, to the mayor's point, we're really under no compulsion, no time pressure at all. We don't have to do anything.
No time pressure at all. We don't have to do anything. Do you think Mannino's going to go like, oh, thank God. Thank you for explaining that to me? No.
However, I recognize the fact that there is, I don't know if I'd say anxiety, request, pressure, whatever we want to call it, from the church and their representatives, both coming our way as well as apparently coming to Mr. Uthmeyer's office. In addition to that, we know there's significant public interest, not just from the church, but also from many other people, either who are supportive, not supportive of the deal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a significant public interest topic, which we're all aware of. So I think legally, no, we don't have to do anything. We could sit our hands and, if there is or there isn't an opinion that comes out of Mr. Uthmeyer's office, then it really does not does not directly bind the city in the trier of fact way, as the mayor said. But I recognize the value in this because there is so much public.
He's doing his best to be kind and polite and courteous to Michael Mannino, but to say we could literally do nothing and sit on our hands, and if the Attorney General's office issues an opinion, it doesn't bind us in any way whatsoever. But I understand the public interest. It's amazing. I mean, Margolis has the patience of a saint.
Interest and so much important stakeholder issues. And I think you brought up a great point, Councilmember Mannino, about the precedent when it comes to many of our other properties downtown, because we are going to be embarking on this with the county, and there are going to be developers that are going to be interested. And so if the council does give me the direction to write the memo, yes, it's going to be focused on this, meaning like this request, this letter from the Attorney General's office, but it's also going to be a much broader conversation that talks about what that process needs to look like as far as vacation, what are the legal principles that govern vacation, because I agree entirely. I think that is going to come up in other contexts. And so I think this is a good time to address it, for that reason.
Here we go.
Go for it.
No, I am not going to be on the record on this dais laughing or finding any sort of humor in something that comes directly out of the Attorney General's office. And while some can say it's out of his or their jurisdiction, or it's been said stay in their lane, I am not going there. We can all read the news. We all read newspapers. We see some of the situations that the state of Florida's Attorney General's office has issued opinions on, many of which I never would have thought, and maybe they do not have that right or the ability, but they're making statements and giving their opinions on. We've all seen county sheriffs, school board members, commissioners, and even mayors removed from their posts from the governor because of not following their direction or their order. So
He's talking about the governor removing elected officials for having been convicted of felonies. And he's comparing that to, oh no, if the Attorney General issues an opinion. By the way, issuing an opinion makes it sound like it's some sort of a ruling in a case. What he really means is if the Attorney General's office writes a letter to the mayor of Clearwater or to the city attorney of Clearwater. Do you see how this guy, like Michael Mannino, like you can't be this stupid. You can only be paid to be this stupid. Okay. And he sat there and just acted like what we really need is clarity. What we really need is guidance. And then the city attorney gives him clarity and gives him guidance, is patient, calm, respectful, even compliments him one or two times. And Michael Mannino acted like Margolis didn't even say a freaking word. He's like, I'm not going to ignore the attorney, anything that comes out of the Attorney General's office with a signature on it. It's like the two lawyers that are up there just explained to you why you could literally ignore it, sit on your hands, do nothing, and it would mean nothing. Oh, you're not going to catch me on record laughing or not caring. Like, you can only be paid to be this stupid, guys. Michael Mannino is working for David Miscavige. Don't forget it. Don't forget it and remember it the next time he comes up for election. The same for Ryan Cotton, but Ryan Cotton just didn't make as much of an ass out of himself this time. I'm not even sure if there's anything else worth listening to on this clip. Let's just give it one quick listen.
I'm not saying there's an anxiety from an internal pressure within our cities. There is a pressure from the state of Florida, and I don't care if this Attorney General's letter was written by Adam Sandler. We can laugh about it if we want. It's on the state of Florida's letterhead with the Attorney General's signature on it. So we can say he doesn't want to be involved in it. We can say it's out of their jurisdiction. It's too bad. They put themselves in it.
They did not. Some extremely wealthy, well-connected Scientologists pulled some levers and got the Attorney General to basically warn the city council, make sure there's no religious discrimination play here because that would break the law. That's it. That's what happened.
They're asking for our response in the city on how we move forward with it,
No, they're not. They're not asking for a response.
and they're watching it. So I'm going to tread on this lightly. I am not attorney. You can find comfort in this, but I do not until we have the correct legal direction and opinion given that we're all comfortable with.
The city attorney just gave you the direction and the legal opinion, and you're not comfortable yet because Michael Mannino won't be comfortable until Daddy Miscavige tells him to be comfortable. Okay, so there you go, guys. Oh, wait.
So I would say this.
Okay, it just continues more of the same with the people who know what they're talking about, trying to explain to the people who don't know what they're talking about that this is a complete nothing burger. And anyway, I thought it was pretty great that Mayor Bruce Rector was basically like, if a property owner disagrees with the position of the city, the way to get that fixed is in court, not by running and tattling to the Florida Attorney General and trying to get them to write us a strongly worded letter. So I truly believe this matter is going to end up in court, and that is going to be amazing. When is the last time the Church of Scientology ended up in court with a city? I mean, when is the last time? Oh my goodness. I think the last time, you're missing. I didn't get the timestamp on this and I don't have the patience to look for it right now. But later in the meeting, when Mayor Rector reiterates that this is what courts are for, this is where it gets resolved. I think it was either Ryan Cotton or Michael Mannino that was like, I'm not going to permit the hard-earned taxpayer money that funds this city to be wasted on needless lawsuits. One more time, you guys. Oh, my pearls. It's absolutely unbelievable how ridiculous Mannino and Cotton have allowed themselves to make them look. And I'm looking forward to much more of that to come. Okay, let's look at some starred comments and we'll wrap this one up. It is late, folks. It is Wednesday night. It is trash night. And I still got to get my trash out there. Okay, Rib Guy says, this will be where we find out the backroom deals that were made. My other bingo card has Mr. Cotton got a new boat. Donna, oh no, the pearls. Constance June, so Scientology would get the property for free. Yes. If that is the card Scientology is trying to play right now. They want it for free. Freyo Neverin, thrilled you found them, Aaron. Yes, I found them. They were buried down there behind some stuff. Okay, Rib Guy says, comment, Mr. Cotton, we want the boat back, which we gave you to bring this vote home. Katie did, off topic, but I just heard that she was a Scientologist. Was Attorney General Pam Bondi a public Scientologist? Do you know how high she got? Katie did. I was tagged all over Twitter once Laura Loomer publicly accused Pam Bondi of being a Scientologist. And I responded by saying Pam Bondi has accepted a bunch of Scientology money. She has held events and fundraisers at Scientology's property in Clearwater, Florida. Scientology considers Pam Bondi an ally, and yet Pam Bondi herself never actually been a Scientologist or done any Scientology. Thank you for that. Elston Gunn gifted 5 more channel memberships. Thank you so much. And he gifted 5 more. Thank you so much, Elston. I really appreciate that. And Kimberly gifted 5 channel memberships. Oh my goodness, you guys. Constance says, I can see Scientology taking this to court. I mean, they have no choice. If Scientology has said, we cannot build and will not build L. Ron Hubbard Hall without buying this street. And they sort of painted themselves into a corner when they did that. And they said, so if we don't sell you the street, you're not going to build L. Ron Hubbard Hall? And they didn't directly say that is correct because, of course, that would be a huge mistake. But Scientology is representing to the city that they cannot build L. Ron Hubbard Hall without buying this street. Now, first of all, that was a mistake to say that to the city because the city doesn't want them to build L. Ron Hubbard Hall. So, I mean, it's not really within the city's power to keep them from building L. Ron Hubbard Hall. That's sort of been the issue. That's sort of been what's known the whole time. Scientology already owns all the property they need to start building L. Ron Hubbard Hall now. It was just at the last minute that they're like, oh, by the way, we want the street too. We want the street. And the city was like, okay, well, we'll at least talk to them, see if they'll give us something in return since they've destroyed the whole downtown. And then that's how the conversation started. And it's like, now that you've told the city council, so if we don't sell you the street, you guys aren't going to build L. Ron Hubbard Hall. Wow. Sounds like we have a huge incentive not to sell you the street. Now, if you're saying, but Aaron, I thought the whole thing that's being said now is they're not even allowed to sell the street. Yes, but they still have to vacate the right of way. So even if it turns out that the city of Clearwater doesn't technically own the road, the way Scientology's attorney is arguing, even if it turns out that that's true, the city of Clearwater still has the right to vote no on vacating the city's right of way. So it almost doesn't even matter if the city is allowed or not allowed to sell the street. The city sure as hell is allowed to vote no on vacating the right of way. And Scientology is basically giving the city the power to keep them from building L. Ron Hubbard Way. Scientology is making a lot of missteps here, in my humble opinion. Kimberly gifted 5 channel memberships. I'm not sure if that was the same one or a new one, but thank you so much. Abigail gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you so much, Abigail. There must be tons of people in the live chat getting memberships for the first time right now. It's raining memberships. Okay, Sharona, because he wants to argue as an attorney for his dear leader, David Miscavige. Oh, right. That's why Mannino's like, or Ryan was like, I wish I had the legal mind. Magnus, the stink of corruption in that room must be unbearable. Ben Bacon Bits. Oh, man, Cotton is going to be having a tantrum. Sharona, Cotton just wants to give up and give them the street for free. Kimberly, I like the mayor. He seems fair and not bothered by the cult. I know the mayor. He's a good guy. Gabrielle, escaping the cultiverse. What a big fat waste of time and taxpayer money. Rob Young Rin, city council members should have never told Jennifer to talk to them about buying a street. It was a ridiculous proposal from the beginning. They opened a can of worms. Northern Girl, not even Seorg members work as hard for the cult as Mannino and Cotton. I'm embarrassed for those 2 grown men. Gabrielle, everything is urgent, vital, time-sensitive in Scientology eyes. It all has to be done by Thursday at 2 p.m. Yes. Oh, my God. Elson has gifted another 5 channel memberships. Abigail's gifted another 5 channel memberships. Are you guys competing with each other for channel memberships? I really appreciate it. Jen Marie, thank you for being a channel member for 3 months. Keep on kicking ass with your protest, my friends. You're amazing people, Aaron. Thank you, Jean Marie. I really appreciate that. Northern Girl, they're not laughing with him. They're definitely laughing at him. Constance, if this works for Scientology, they will ask the Attorney General to write all kinds of letters for them. Ben Bacon Bits, was he vaping an unknown substance before this? Sharona, these 2 fools must not know how to ask Grok a question. Thank you for being a channel member for 16 months, Sharona. Rob Young Rin, this council should have never opened talks about selling a public street to anyone. They've done this to themselves. Scooter's anti-cult report, I find comfort in that he's not an attorney. And Rob Young Rin, Scientology can point to the sweet deal the last council gave the Calvary Church. They will say it's religious discrimination. Ooh, I don't know about that. I don't know the details of that deal. Rob, if there's a link to an article about that, could you shoot it to me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com? Because, I'd be interested to do a compare and contrast on how similar whatever that deal was to whatever it is that Scientology is asking for. All right, everybody, that is it. I hope everybody has a wonderful Wednesday night. It's going to be a crazy rest of the week, guys. We're going to have a blast. And last plug for anyone watching anywhere within driving distance of Clearwater, Florida, please consider coming out and joining us this Friday evening at our protest. Friday, 5:30 p.m., 8:30 p.m., right outside the Fort Harrison Hotel, 210 South Fort Harrison Avenue. We're going to have an absolute fantastic time. Nicole the Kiwi says, love the updates as always, Aaron. Keep it up, mate. Thank you. And thank you for being a channel member for 2 months. All right, guys, have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right